On December 5, 2025, the Trump administration released a new national security strategy, cementing the America First philosophy into official U.S. policy. This isn't a subtle shift, it's a fundamental rethinking of America's global role. Critics quickly dubbed it America Alone. As the document bluntly declares, the days of the United States propping up the world order are over. The strategy prioritizes American interests in narrower, more transactional terms, signaling a retreat from the nation's role as global security guarantor. Instead of promoting democracy or underwriting distant allies' security, the focus is now on direct threats to the U.S. homeland and its immediate sphere of influence. This is a detailed blueprint for reallocating American resources away from traditional commitments. What was once campaign rhetoric is now official policy, published for the world to see. The publication removes all ambiguity, forcing allies to confront a new reality. The implications are profound, but Europe feels the shock most acutely. For decades, Europe relied on American security guarantees. Now, that foundation is cracking. The new NSS questions the very value of the transatlantic alliance, marking the start of an uncertain chapter. Every nation must now reassess its place in a world where old assumptions no longer hold. For nearly a century, American foreign policy was built on bipartisan consensus, global alliances, peace, and shared prosperity. The U.S. invested in NATO and other institutions, believing its own security was tied to global stability. The new national security strategy shatters that consensus, rejecting the idea that America must lead a global order. Past involvement is now framed as overextension. America shouldered the burden, others benefited. The document swaps partnership for a transactional focus on national interest and competition. Europe is downgraded in U.S. strategic thinking, with priority shifting to the Western Hemisphere and Pacific. The revival of the Monroe Doctrine is clear. The Western Hemisphere is a U.S. zone of influence, off-limits to foreign powers. This is backed by a military buildup in the Caribbean, moving forces closer to home. The U.S. is pulling back from global commitments, marking a dramatic break from the post-1945 order. Seasoned diplomats are stunned. Alliances that defined American power are now seen as drains. Predictability is replaced by volatility. The belief in strength through allies is gone. Now, allies are viewed as liabilities. This isn't just a policy change, it's an ideological revolution. Every country must now recalculate its relationship with a U.S. that no longer sees itself as the world's indispensable leader. The new national security strategy delivers a stark message to Europe. The era of relying on the U.S. for security is over. European nations are told to take primary responsibility for their own defense, far beyond previous calls for increased spending. The U.S. will no longer automatically come to Europe's aid, setting a tight and, to many, unrealistic deadline for Europe to build up its military. This shift transforms the U.S. from protector to distant partner, fundamentally altering NATO's purpose. The NSS harshly criticizes European allies, accusing them of lacking self-confidence and warning of civilizational erasure. It even suggests aligning with patriotic European parties, nodding to far-right nationalist movements. This isn't just a policy shift, it's an ideological attack on mainstream European governance. President Trump's view of European allies as freeloaders is now official policy. The controversial stance was foreshadowed by Vice President Vance's speech accusing Europe of weakness. Now, these criticisms are enshrined in U.S. strategy. NATO's collective defense principle is replaced by a model where each member is responsible for its own survival, leaving Europe scrambling for answers. For Ukraine, the new U.S. strategy is a nightmare. Kyiv fears its most powerful backer is abandoning it, as the document calls for an expeditious cessation of hostilities, suggesting a quick end to the war, regardless of terms. The focus is no longer on Ukrainian victory but on strategic stability with Russia, even if it means ceding territory. U.S. commitment is reduced to ensuring Ukraine's survival as a viable state, a dramatic downgrade from previous pledges. The timing is dire, as Ukraine faces battlefield pressure and Russia intensifies its threats. The NSS validates Russia's demand to halt NATO expansion, a blow to Ukraine's aspirations. By echoing Russian talking points, the U.S. appears to side with the aggressor. Kyiv fears the U.S. will force a peace deal on Russia's terms. Ukraine is left vulnerable, caught between Russian aggression and an American ally eager to cut its losses. The principles of sovereignty and self-determination are at risk. The new national security strategy no longer casts Russia as a primary adversary. Instead of condemnation, it emphasizes strategic stability with Moscow, managing the relationship, not confronting Russian ambitions. The US now positions itself as a mediator, not the leader of a united Western Front. This detached stance alarms Europe, especially NATO's eastern members. The NSS calls for ending NATO's expansion, a major concession to Moscow. By accommodating Russian demands, the US closes the door on future NATO membership for Ukraine and Georgia. The strategy treats Russia as a power with legitimate interests, prioritizing deal-making over defending democratic values. For Europe, this raises the specter of a US-Russia bargain at Europe's expense. The new US strategy has plunged Europe into anxiety and uncertainty. The American security guarantee is gone, forcing Europe to confront its own defense for the first time in generations. The choice: rapidly build up military capabilities, strategic autonomy, or hope for a change in US leadership. Massive defense spending and integration are daunting, especially amid economic and political challenges. The US deadline is seen as unrealistic, but relying on America now seems reckless. Russia's threats intensify the debate, exposing Europe's over-reliance on Washington. Deep divisions emerge. Some nations cling to the US link, others push for self-reliance. The US alignment with nationalist parties threatens to fracture Europe further. European leaders face not just a security crisis, but a political and existential one. The future hinges on whether Europe can unite or will fracture under pressure. The stakes are higher than ever. Europe must decide: band together or face a resurgent Russia alone. The America First strategy marks the end of an era and the start of a dangerously unpredictable one. By stepping back, the US creates a power vacuum others will rush to fill. Europe and Ukraine are left exposed. Ukraine may face a forced peace, Europe a resurgent Russia. The US now views democratic allies as liabilities, autocratic rivals as partners. Shared values are replaced by power politics. Europe must choose: unite for strategic autonomy or fracture under pressure. The US pivot to the Pacific leaves Europe to fend for itself. The transatlantic alliance's future is in doubt. Instability looms. For Europe and Ukraine, the path forward is perilous. The age of American protection is over. A new, more dangerous era has begun.